Welcome back to the channels, guys. This is Jeremy Hiltz here at Hiltz Machine Works, working on a Logan lathe today. This is a Logan 6560, and as you can see, I took my compound off because I've been having an ongoing problem since I got the lathe. I have slowly been going over each and every part of the lathe, and I rebuilt the headstock last year. I, cleaned it up and got rid of all the leaded paint, and I painted it nice. I've replaced some of the internals on the apron. I've installed the digital readout, but it was time to go over the compound because the compound on this lathe, and this is one criticism I will have of this 6560 lathe, is you only have a small location pin on the compound and then these two studs that go through here, and you have nuts, and they're kind of hard to access. I don't find it to be the most useful method. I wish they would have done something more like they did on the 922. But anyways, this is what we have on a 6560. Another thing that I wish they would have had is the graduation start here at the 90-degree mark, but on this side it only goes to 70. And at some point I'm going to scribe my own. But what I'm doing right now is, as you can see, these studs are not correct. This one is all stripped out. It was always hard to tighten it. And this one is just a bolt. So what happened is, it's pretty common on these for them to break the stud that holds it down. And at some point in time, when a stud broke, somebody just put a bolt in here. And the problem with that is, it comes up through here and it does slide around. But when you go to tighten it, see, it can spin. So it's hard to get it to tighten. That's not the fault of Logan Engineering. That was somebody else wasn't really thinking straight. And the other one, the original, is like a rectangle. And you can see the lathe marks there, the turning marks where they made this. And that allows it to go up in there and it can go around. But when you go to tighten it or loosen it, it binds up. So you don't end up just spin, spin, spin. So I thought about what I wanted to do. And some people online have taken, again, gone back to the bolt idea and used a little bit of a larger bolt and then taken a grinder and just grind the two of the points off, you could say, the hex. And then it goes up in there better than just with the small bolt. But you still end up with a problem, even when it gets up in there. There's certain situations where it can still turn enough. Yeah, see, I got it to spin one. So I don't want that. So what I've decided to do is I am going to take a piece of material and I'm going to, I chose this piece of material because, as you can see, I can get the whole rectangular dimension here out of that piece of stock, basically. And so I'm going to put this in the lathe. I'm going to turn it down so I can put this thread on there with a die. I won't single point it. I'm just going to use a die. And then I'm going to cut this off, hold this section in a collet, block, then go over to the Bridgeport and I'm going to mill out this rectangular shape so that I have basically what the factory had. And I believe that's probably what they did, because like I said, you can see on here the turning marks. So that tells me that this was turned in a lathe, and then probably they had some kind of a setup where they could mill these or shape them or whatever they did. So let's go over to the Logan 922. Taking 100 thousandths off the diameter with each cut. Normally with carbide, you want a nice blue chip. I know that right now this Logan needs a little bit of work, so I'm not going to push it to run it that fast. Not looking to get a super good finish. We're going to take a measurement after this cut. 312. Okay, so I am tapping this 5/16 in the vise because it's hard to get the handle in the swing of the 922. So we're gonna do that real quick. I've used plenty of oil, and this should cut real nice. Okay, now what we're gonna do in order to make the square part is I've got this in a collet block now, and I'm gonna come down and touch off, and we're gonna take off 94.5 thousandths off this surface and this surface once it's in the vise, and then we're gonna take 126 off each side, and I'm just gonna flip it and index it as I go. Now you might wonder, well, why not put it standing straight up in the vise, and then you could just work your way around the whole piece. Well, the problem is that this collet doesn't have a whole lot of strength to hold on to here, and so if I was to come in with an end mill with this facing straight up and try to turn on this, or try to touch off on the side, it would have a tendency to try to spin that in the collet. This way, the forces are not trying to spin it quite as hard, and I think this is the way to go. Your results may vary. You can do it the way you would like to do in your shop. So, let's try to go ahead here. And I'm just going to use my quill readout. I have a Mitutoyo readout here on my quill. But let's see how she goes. All right. I'm gonna start taking some material. I'm gonna take about, I think, 20 thousandths at a time just to make sure it doesn't have that tendency to spin. Okay, first side's done. We're gonna index her up here. And come around and do the same thing we just did, except this side we're taking a little bit more material off. We're gonna take 126 off of this side. Okay, on to side 3. You can see how these collet blocks make things extremely handy. I also have one with a hex on it. Okay, this one's back to the 95 thousandths basically. Okay, last side. We're also going to face it off while it's here. This is the 126,000 side. Okay. Looking good. Now let's come over, we're gonna drop down. Just removing the nub there from when I parted it in the lathe. And I'm gonna take off about 25 thousandths here. A lot of times when I'm milling, I'll keep the quill all the way up and everything. This, we're not under a lot of stress, and it's the best angle I could get for the camera. But take things like that into account. You want to minimize your overhang. Okay, let's see how she works. Remember, this is our old one. It was all stripped out. This was the alternative one that they put in there, which had a tendency to spin. I got my two new ones in there, replacement pieces. And they work just fine. They slide easily, but when you turn them, they fetch up almost immediately. And you can't get them to spin. So I would say this is a success. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. Remember to subscribe below, share these videos with your friends. Or if you need any work done on some of your older machines, you can send them up. A customer recently sent me a pulley off of a Logan lathe all the way from Oklahoma. So be looking for that video soon. Thanks for watching.